Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to our ED panel. My name is Alyssa Martinez. I am an assistant director of admission here at Northwestern University. I am very excited to welcome you all tonight to our early decision panel. We have four great student panelists here to tell you a little bit more about their experience at Northwestern and why they chose to apply early decision. We hope that you get some great insight from our panel tonight. Please feel free to drop any and all questions that you might have in that chat. We are happy to answer them as we move through the night, so do not be shy about it at all. And so with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to our panelists to introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Madeline.
Hi, everybody. My name is Madeline. I use she, her pronouns. I am a fourth year in the School of Communication studying theater and psychology with a minor in dance. And I am from a whole bunch of different places around the globe, but I graduated high school in the Netherlands. And next up is Nick.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also a fourth year here at Northwestern. I'm the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, studying political science, statistics, and history. And I'll pass it off to Vivica.
Hi, y'all. I'm Vivica. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am also a fourth year. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm part of the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. I study sociology and global health studies, and I'll pass it off to Adam.
Hey everyone, my name's Adam, also a fourth year. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am a dual degree BS MS student studying mechanical engineering, and I'll pass it back.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. We are so excited to have you here to learn a little bit more about each of you and your journey with early decision. Now, there is a Q&A box there that you all can drop your questions into, as well as in the chat. But I'm going to kick us off with one of my favorite questions, which is, think back to when you were a senior applying to colleges. What interested you most when looking at Northwestern, and what was it about Northwestern that made you apply early decision? Madeline, you can start.
Yeah, Northwestern was at the top of my college list, not just from senior year, but from 7th grade. I was that annoying in high school, but it really was because I knew I wanted to study multiple disciplines. And with theater, that's really challenging to do. And there was nowhere that nowhere else in the country that I felt like I was sacrificing or something like that. Of this one program, I might have a better theater major than my psychology major. I might have a better psychology major than my theater major, other than Northwestern. I was actually able to meet with the professor before my early decision application, who's now turned into the head of our theater department. And when I mentioned I was interested in double majoring, he said, "Oh, thank goodness. I feel like I always have to convince people that it's a good idea to study their passions." And that was when I knew for 100% that I was in the right spot. Nick?
Yeah, so I guess I had a little bit of a different experience coming to apply early decision at Northwestern, since I didn't really know much about Northwestern until my junior year of high school. That was the first time that I really visited. Even though I'm from like the Midwest, Indianapolis area, I just hadn't really thought of Northwestern before. And after visiting, like I really loved the campus. Just the idea of being right next to Chicago for 4 years was really like alluring to me as someone from Indy, because Chicago is like the big city for all of us. So it was really cool to have the opportunity to go there so often. And then also just the quarter system. I've always been like very scatterbrained in terms of the things I want to study. It's like a long list of things. So I wanted to go to a school that would let me try out a lot of different areas of study. And with the quarter system, at least how Northwestern uses the quarter system, like I've been able to take so many different classes, and I've been able to follow any passion that I've ever had. So that was kind of my main reason for applying early decision to Northwestern. Vivica?
Yeah, I think when I was in high school, I was very against like having a dream school. Like I was like, I don't want to have a dream school because that's how you set yourself up to be sad if you don't get in. And I was so adamant about it. But eventually I found myself, I'd come to my counselor and I'd be like, yeah, this school does this, but at Northwestern, they do this. And I kind of became obsessed with just like comparing everyone to Northwestern. And so I ultimately was like, yes, I should go to Northwestern. But I think as far as like other reasons why I wanted to come here besides just completely falling in love with the school, I would say it was kind of like the best of both worlds in a lot of categories for me. I'll echo what Madeline and Nick said about like wanting to study everything you want to do here. I like that I can study public health from both the lens of science and social justice, and I don't have to sacrifice one or the other. I also wanted a place that had like top world renowned academics, but also a lot of school spirit, which can be hard to find. And I feel like I get both here at Northwestern. I definitely say we have a work hard, play hard culture where Monday through Friday, we're in the libraries, we're working super hard, collaborating. But then on Saturday, you'll see a friend from one of your classes at a tailgate or going to the football game. And so I appreciate that we have both those cultures. And I'll pass it to Adam.
Yeah, definitely echo everything everyone has said. For me, just starting with the quarter system, I'm somebody who didn't want to study like a whole bunch of things, but I kind of use the quarter system to study something very deeply. So in that I've been able to earn, or will earn, hopefully if I pass all my classes, 2 degrees here at Northwestern, a BS and an MS. And then kind of on the other side of things, more socially, I really like that Northwestern had big time sports being in the Big Ten. We also get into all of our home games for free, which I think is like a huge perk. And then also having a huge city like Chicago in our backyard, I just thought was amazing. And then just quickly going back to academics for a second, I really feel like Northwestern's a very practical place. So there's a lot of examples, I'm sure we'll kind of get to a few of them in our time here, where you can be studying at Northwestern and also be off doing an internship, or something like Chicago Field Studies, which is an internship specifically in Chicago, or working with outside companies, something in research. So I really feel like Northwestern has a very practical take on education. It's not somewhere you just come, take classes, do homework, and go home. So yeah, it was kind of everything I was looking for as well. I'll pass it back.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Now, I want to ask just a little bit more about that decision-making process, because that's where so many of our prospective students are right now. So think back 4 years ago when you were in their shoes. What were some of the things that gave you the confidence to apply early decision to Northwestern? And what, in your opinion, is the benefit of applying early decision?
Oh, this is a good question. I think there were kind of 2 things that gave me the confidence to apply early decision. One was that my family had the privilege for me to know that I was going to be able to afford it, whatever my financial aid package came back as, which is a luxury that I do want to acknowledge. Another thing that really kind of convinced me to do early decision rather than gauge my options was that I knew in 5-6 years time, if I didn't get into Northwestern, or even probably 4 months, honestly, if I didn't get into Northwestern, I would just be kicking myself, because in my head I would know that I didn't do everything I possibly could to get into this school. And so with those 2 factors of knowing that it was logistically an option for me, and also that my heart was really set on like knowing that I was maximizing my percentage chance of getting in, because our application rates do change, or our acceptance rate changes between early decision, regular decision. That's kind of what made up my mind and giving me kind of that courage and boost to go the early decision route. Nick.
Obviously, one of the main reasons why I applied early decision was a similar reason. The different acceptance rate is really attractive, but my high school guidance counselor, he went to Northwestern. So I feel like I had a really great resource there to like figure out what the Northwestern experience was like that a lot of people might not have had. And honestly, like the conversations that I was having with him whenever I was a senior in high school, figuring out if I wanted to apply to Northwestern, really made me sure that this was a school that I wanted to commit to, because I could see a lot of myself in the experiences that he had, and I wanted to experience that for myself. And then just one of the best parts about applying ED is like, if you get in, you get in December. You only have to apply to like one school. I only had to write one college admissions essay. That was kind of great. So you get to finish the process really early. So that's always really fun. Vivica?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you two were saying. I think it just came down to I really could not picture myself anywhere but Northwestern at that point. Like I said, I was like, I don't want a dream school, but then it became like, ooh, okay, Northwestern is that top slot. Like, I don't know if other places can bring me the same joy with the same programming and everything. And I think in my experience, the financial aid was a really big helpful aspect. My family was in a situation that it was going to be challenging to pay for college. We were aware of this. And I think the sticker price definitely scared my family, as it does many families. And so it was really great that throughout the process, we worked with a lot of counselors to figure out, would Northwestern be a place I could go financially? And it turned out it was. I think Northwestern has a lot of financial aid that helps out students. I am fully on financial aid, and so it feels good to be able to graduate debt free, loan free. And that's something that would not have been possible without Northwestern's financial aid office working with me all of these years, despite the pandemic struggles with that. And my family is a small business family. And so I was grateful that Northwestern had flexible financial aid where it was like, we are excited to see that you want to go here, and we're going to make that a reality for you financially as well.
For me, yeah, I mean, I definitely echo everything everyone said. I kind of put all my eggs in one basket with Northwestern. I applied to Northwestern and then a safety school, and I was going to pick one of the two. And for me, I just felt like I knew Northwestern was kind of the right place to be. Like I knew it was a place that had great academics and had kind of the social life I was looking for and the sports that I was looking for. And so I didn't really look anywhere else. And I feel like that definitely has come to fruition. I definitely think Northwestern was the perfect place for me. So I think ED definitely, I think Nick said this, like being able to just know in December and not really have to worry about it and kind of have the decision made for you before and not have to like wait all the way until May was something that was really enticing for me. And I kind of wanted to just get through the process, be done with it, and be able to enjoy my senior year, kind of knowing where I was going to be.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I want to just address something that's been brought up in the chat a couple of times. Vivica talked about it a little bit, but just FYI, so you all are on the same page, Northwestern is a need-based institution, and we are committed to meeting 100% of a family's demonstrated financial need. That means we're willing to cover the gap between our sticker price of tuition and what your family can afford. Now, if any of you are considering early decision, but that financial piece is something that is holding you back, I encourage you to check out the net price calculator tool on our website. That net price calculator tool will give you a pretty good snapshot of the type of financial aid package you and your family can expect to receive at Northwestern University. And so that was just a quick plug from me to address some of the questions in the chat about financial aid. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and turn it back to the students and ask them, what is something that you think most high school seniors don't know or realize about Northwestern, and how did you learn it? So, Madeline.
I know mine. I miss giving this spiel. I used to be a tour guide. I'm not anymore. And so I don't have the opportunity, which is that the quarter system is great and not something to be scared of. It is the hill I will die on. So I'm going to say what I like to call the two perceived cons of the quarter system. One, it goes too fast. Our teachers do not know how to speak faster than a normal human being. You are never going to be tested on something you are not like taught in the classroom. You're never going to be given a reading and say you need to know this exact reading, but we're never going to mention any of the topics in class. So sometimes that might mean that your sequences will get longer, but that also means you get 3 credits for chemistry over 1 year instead of just 2. In psychology, what abnormal psych would be in other schools with a semester system is actually 3 courses here, and they are all more expanded and more into their niche topics of psychopathology, child psychopathology, and introduction to clinical psych than 1 course of abnormal psychology would be. And also none of those are prerequisites for the other. So generally, your information is either going to be slightly less. You might be reading 1 less book than what it would be in a semester, but it's not like you're trying to absorb all the information you would be taught in 15 weeks and 10 weeks, because that isn't possible. And then the second perceived con is that, oh my gosh, there's so much testing. Correct. And it should not be a con, because I never, ever want to take a test that I had to remember information from 15 or 16 weeks ago on this day in December. The longest you will ever have to retain information in a class, unless you're in a sequence when you're constantly building on it for a whole year, is 9 weeks. Your midterms are going to be anywhere from 3 to 5. It's way more digestible in terms of really cranking out those study hours and knowing what you're needing to do, what are your kind of gaps, instead of just this wealth of information you don't know what to deal with in terms of the studying practice. And I was definitely a little worried about going into a quarter system. My schools were really academically rigorous, and so I didn't think it was going to be that much of a transition, but it was definitely something I was afraid of. And then I got here and I was like, oh wait, no, there's no other option I think schools should do other than the quarter system. So that was my little Northwestern early on realization. What about you, Nick?
I think the biggest thing that I wasn't expecting coming in was just the amount of like research opportunities that are available on the humanities side of things. Like I was expecting there to be a bunch of stuff in like the chemistry department, like the bio department, because like that's what people normally associate with research. But every single one of my professors was doing some kind of really interesting research project. And not only like were they doing those projects, but students were welcome to join in on those projects at pretty much any time. Like with me, I've been able to work on like 2 research projects about airplanes with the history department. I didn't know Northwestern was doing aviation historical research, but I guess we were. And I really like aviation. I really like planes. So it's really nice to have a lot of those opportunities just like kind of laying around. And I didn't even have to like search out for them. The first day that I got here, they sent out like a massive email with all of the research opportunities that were available, at least in like the history and political science departments, because like that's where I was. So it was like right in front of me whenever I first got here. I knew all of the opportunities that I'd have available to me over the next 4 years. So it made it really easy to go out and find a research position if you wanted to get a research position at all. So I really enjoyed that part of it. Vivica, what about you?
Yeah, I would say one of my concerns when I was like touring and just like thinking about going to college was just like finding a community on campus. That was something I was really worried about, especially because like the community I was coming from was pretty urban. It was like mainly Black and brown communities, lots of hearing Spanish on a daily basis. And I was worried coming to Evanston and coming to Northwestern would be a complete change of pace. But I've been really welcomed by all of our like clubs and organizations I've sought out. We have almost 600 clubs and organizations that students can be part of. And so some of the ones that have really helped me out were like for members only, which is like our Black Student Union, and they hold annual events. And so as like a first year, I just started attending those and people were so warm and welcoming. I'm also part of like the SHAPE, which stands for Sexual Health and Assault Peer Educators. And so it was cool meeting people also interested in like what I want to do professionally someday and getting like those networking capabilities, but also just like they're such kind and friendly people. Like I always tell my friends, like going to our weekly meetings with them just brightens up my day, brightens up my week, and working with them, I just feel so honored to be with them. And so it was really like something I was scared about. And then once I got here, I was like, oh wow, it's actually not that bad. Like there are so many different communities on our campus that are so welcoming and like ready to invite you. So definitely not a concern if that is something on your mind right now. And I'll pass it to Adam.
First of all, Madeline, they should like put you on a poster or something. Like that was awesome. Um, for me, the 2 things I guess like maybe I wish I knew or I think people should know about. The first is how collaborative the students are at Northwestern. I think I was kind of like scrolling through the Q&A and that was something somebody had said. Absolutely, Northwestern not a competitive environment at all, even in classes that maybe like should be, where there's maybe a curve or something like that. I really feel like Northwestern students show up for each other and really help each other out. I've never had an example where I just like am stuck on a homework problem and like somebody in the class, even if I don't know them, like will not help me. I think everyone's super collaborative. The other piece I wanted to highlight is just kind of like the support that you get at Northwestern. So also somebody had asked about like advising. So Northwestern, you pretty much have an advisor for everything you do, which is really unique and really awesome. So you have like an academic advisor, somebody in your major. When you come to Northwestern, you'll have a peer advisor that walks you through orientation. You'll have a career advisor. If you're in something like pre-health or pre-law, you'll have an advisor for that. And that is really, really helpful at Northwestern. I always feel like there's somebody I can go to for whatever issues that I might have, in addition to like professors and things like that, who can help you kind of through the challenges of college. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank y'all for sharing that. Adam, you and I noticed similar themes in the chat. A lot of questions about academics. And so I'll like leave it at that to just tell us a little bit more about academics, but truly everything from the class size to the access to professors to what is the quarter system to what is it like to have two double majors in different schools. So if you all could share a little bit more about your academic experience here at Northwestern, that would be really, really great and insightful.
Yeah, I'll kick us off per usual. I'll definitely say that I often get a lot of like looks or questions of, oh, wow, you're doing like two different majors and a minor. I'm also doing a concentration and a thesis, but also I am doing all humanities courses. I have not taken a final since I was in my sophomore year. I have final papers instead. So my academic experience is definitely something that people in Beanon and School of Comm and in select areas of Weinberg can relate to, rather than students in McCormick are doing things more in the STEM fields. I, however, have found that it is easier than I thought it was going to be. When I was applying, knew I was going to be able to double major, and I was really happy about it, but I was kind of under the impression that was all I was going to be able to do, and it would take me all 4 years to do so. I am done with my psychology major. I finished junior year. My dance minor is the only thing I'm working on for all of my senior year, and I'm already halfway done. And I'm working a job where I'm there 3 days a week, and then at school and at the admissions desk the other 2. And so it's definitely has a lot more wiggle room than I was thinking of, just in terms of coming in with a lot of AP credits definitely helped. And there is a little bit of like variety in what you're able to take. I knew my first year that I wasn't going to be doing as many things outside of the classroom as I would later on. And so I elected to take 6 classes. So I was at 5.3 credits, basically my entire first year, which is pretty abnormal, but they were in courses with lighter homework loads and things I knew I could handle, and set me up where I can be taking 3 classes and doing an internship my senior year, which was really important to me. But I've also been able to take classes in Beanon and in the School of Education and Social Policy and Environmental Studies. That was why I tripped up on my words there. And across a lot of different majors. I'm actually halfway to a history minor that I know I will never finish, but I kind of stumbled into that one, funnily enough. And there's just definitely like a lot of room for you to explore the university and your academics in different ways. I like to say that the sense of like the 6 schools are really just administrative bodies for us to better assist our students, rather than barriers to your learning at all. And I definitely think that's true. Nick.
Yeah, so I am technically a triple major because I am majoring in political science, statistics, and history. So history and poli-sci have a pretty significant overlap just because they're both in the humanities field. But I was not actually planning on majoring in any of those 3 things whenever I first got to Northwestern. I actually applied here and spent my first quarter as a chemistry major, believe it or not. So that was what I was originally wanting to do. You could say I got weeded out of the organic chemistry sequence. I admit it. I'm not ashamed of it. But Northwestern makes it really easy to switch majors. I think that's one of the main reasons why like the undergraduate schools have pretty much the exact same acceptance rate, if I'm correct on that, because you can just go back and forth between majors, between schools, with literally sending an email to your advisor. There's one form you have to fill out. I said, I don't want to do chemistry anymore. I want to do history. And they're like, fantastic, you're now a history major. And I filled that form out 2 more times for stats and poli-sci, and here I am. So it really is very easy to go back and forth. You don't have to worry about what major you put on your application, whether it's early decision or regular decision. I think I might have put like biomedical engineering on there, for example. So I've really like gone back and forth in every single possible way. And Northwestern just makes it really easy to go back and forth between majors and minors, and also just spend time in each of those classes. So I've really enjoyed that part of my academic experience. And you'd be kind of surprised to hear this, but I've had plenty of time to just take classes for fun, even though I am a triple major, which you'd expect to like take up a lot of my time. I've been able to take like almost an entire Spanish minor. I think if I had like 2 more classes, I would have gotten a Spanish minor. And I really wasn't expecting to have all of that stuff done. So the quarter system really does give you a lot of time. You can do a lot of different things. So that's probably like the biggest hallmark of my Northwestern experience, just being able to do literally everything I ever wanted to do. Vivica, what about you?
I totally agree with Nick. I came in super undecided. I think I said in my interview, I was like, I might want to study English or physics, maybe get into engineering, which, yeah, no, I had no direction. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. But it's nice that like Northwestern's quarter system does build in a lot of flexibility to explore. And we don't have a core curriculum. We have foundational disciplines, which basically are just like 6 key buckets that you have to take 2 classes in by graduation within Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. But all the schools have like some variation of this. And so I spent my first year just fulfilling a lot of those requirements. I was taking classes in all kinds of fields, just because, as my advisor put it, just to see what stuck. And eventually I took a sociology class and that stuck with me. And I was like, hey, this is what I want to study. But it was really nice that like my whole first year was really like centered around exploration, and I didn't get behind at all. Like I actually was doing really great with degree progress, where I finished those foundational disciplines pretty early compared to some of my other classmates because I was just exploring. But I was encouraged to do that here. So I appreciate that. And I think I saw a question about like advising, and I definitely say like my academic path has heavily been inspired by my advisors. So you have a ton of different advisors from your first year seminar one to your school one, majors and minors, any programs. You get an advisor for each of those things. And so, yeah, my advisor just really sat down with me on many sessions and helped me figure out, how do I pick a major and like, what does this mean? And he would ask me things like, what do you want to do 10 years from now? What legacy do you hope to leave behind? Some of these big questions, but it helped me figure out that sociology and global health was the path for me ultimately, so I could pursue public health. And I've been so happy with my decisions. I really love like the global health classes. I responded to a comment about that. That's my favorite part of the program. We constantly have like a new list of courses that are offered every single year based on like the professor's research and experience. So right now I'm in one called Volunteerism and the Ethics of Help. Really fascinating topic where we just talk about like what it actually means to help a community. But yeah, I'm so content with my academic experience, and I'm actually going to continue it through Northwestern. I'm going to become a graduate student to get my master's of public health at Feinberg School of Medicine. And so I like it so much that I'm staying here. That's kind of my goal, is just to get my PhD here too. And so I don't really see a reason to leave. I'm so content with the academics here. And I'll pass it to Adam to finish us off.
Yeah, so my story is definitely kind of has the same threads as everyone else. Definitely the flexibility has been really helpful. I did a slight major change my freshman fall, so I came in as a biomedical engineer. I was like, that's too hard. So I switched to mechanical engineering, and that has been a lot better. But I am, like I've said, doing a bachelor's and a master's in 4 years, and I'm also not at school right now because I'm interning. So I was able to do all that while taking off a quarter at Northwestern, which really I don't think you could do at any other school. If anyone has an example, feel free to throw it in the Q&A, and then I can stop lying to people on tours and things like that. But truly, the flexibility is amazing at Northwestern. It's a place I've been able to do so many things, and I feel like really take advantage of a lot of opportunities that have kind of been thrown my way. And kind of that flexibility allows you to be able to graduate on time while still taking some of those opportunities. So yeah, I'm glad to be leaving after 4 years. Unlike Vivica, like I'm happy to be done, but it is amazing. And I hope you all do end up here and have as great of a time as I have.
Awesome. Thank y'all for sharing a little bit more about your academic journey. I'm seeing another theme with the questions just about extracurricular involvements and like other things that you can do on Northwestern's campus that don't involve academics. So I'm actually going to change it up a bit and have Adam start us off with some of the things he's involved with and ways he's found community on Northwestern's campus.
Yeah, sure. So I've been kind of like the king of doing a lot of clubs and then ending up dropping them because I don't know, I'm just like, I like to try a lot of things. So my freshman year, I was on the club ultimate frisbee team, which all of these, first of all, I loved. They were like just great experiences, but I was like, I want to try something new. So the club ultimate frisbee team, that was awesome. If any of you are like into ultimate frisbee, highly recommend. They have like an A team that's pretty competitive. I was on the B team. We just like came out once a week and threw some frisbees around. That was really fun. I was also in a no-cut improv group called No Fun Mud Piranhas that I think like Stephen Colbert was in like way like 100 years ago. So that was really fun. And then my sophomore year, I did our Formula racing team, which was really, really cool, and got some like engineering experience, and got to like build a race car, which was really interesting. And then I started doing tour guide and really enjoyed that. I've also been a peer advisor where we kind of walk students through Wildcat Welcome, our new student orientation, which was really fun. And so these days I'm, like I said, interning, so not actually at school, but I've stuck around with tour guide, which I really, really enjoy, and get to talk to all of you lovely people. And then you'll also find me around Hillel a lot, which is our Jewish kind of student organization, where I found a lot of community as well. So yeah, a lot to do at Northwestern, and definitely I'd love to plug that you don't have to like come in and like do something all 4 years, and that has to be like your thing. Definitely you can kind of float around, and I would highly encourage you to do that.
I kind of already mentioned some things that I've been part of. Shape is pretty much like the main thing I'm part of at this point. Unlike Adam, I do not like getting involved with things very often. I prefer to be like that casual member that can just pop by as I want. But I will say another area of campus I really found like a community in some way, or just like interest, would be research. I would say research has kind of become a very large part of my college experience, and I never expected it to be because I had no experience going into Northwestern. But the Office of Undergraduate Research, or OUR for short, I love them. They are so kind, and they always give you money, so like you really can't complain. But I've just gone through like so many different research programs there, whether it's like the undergraduate research assistant program, which basically you get like a part-time job to be a research assistant for a professor. And I got to know one of my professors really well through that, and I got paid, so big win. And then this past summer, I did the Circumnavigator Research Grant, which is a travel study grant to travel to 5 countries and 3 continents to do research on whatever topic you would like. And so that was my first time really doing like an independent research project. But I say independent in quotes all the time because I'm like, if you look, I have a whole team of Northwestern friends and faculty and staff members at the research office that have really been helping me every step of the way. And so, yeah, I would say like the research community is one that I'm very active and love being part of. And it's even better because it was so unexpected.
Yeah, so I feel a lot like Adam. I'm the kind of person who went to a lot of clubs at the very start of my freshman year, and then started like narrowing down the number that I actually continued going to throughout my 4 years. So at this point, my main extracurricular is Model UN. I love Northwestern's Model UN team, both the travel team and the team that hosts our conference every single year. So they're really great. Also, like Adam, I was a peer advisor this past year. So orientation leader, absolutely loved Wildcat Welcome. Probably my favorite week of my time here at Northwestern. Like the people that are involved there, the PAs, the Wildcat Welcome board of directors, like they are such fantastic people. They really do make it like probably one of the best times that you'll have here. And then outside of those, kind of like Vivica, I've gotten really involved in research here. That's one of the main extracurricular activities that I do. As mentioned before, I've been involved in 2 research projects with the history department. And I've also had time to meet a lot of people at the visitor center. I've worked here for the last 2 years. Really great way to meet a lot of awesome people. I got to meet the other 4 panelists here, and y'all are pretty cool. So I've definitely enjoyed pretty much every like social opportunity that I've had with other Northwestern students. It really is like a one of a kind group of people. Like they're some of my best friends in the world, and I couldn't have imagined like going anywhere else, just because they are also creative and driven, and they're going to do the most fantastic things ever. And it's so cool to just be involved and surrounded by that every single day. So those are my main clubs. Madeline, want to finish us off?
Yeah, in opposition to Adam and Nick, I have been involved in maybe 4 student organizations my whole time. The theater major is, or community is tiny and mighty, and we also stick around. This will be my plug for the WAMU show, which Nick and Vivek have both heard me talk about, definitely ad nauseum. But it is the largest student-written musical produced in the world, and I'm an international student, so I can say the world. We mostly say the United States. And every single year for the last 15 years, we have been writing an entirely new musical from scratch, and then it is entirely performed by students. We have some faculty support and faculty direction, but now we're also having student designers. So that's a really cool way to expand on what we're doing in the classroom. And I said the last 15 years have been all new, but the WAMU show has actually been around since 1929. And so our alumni network is just absolutely crazy. I've met people who graduated from the WAMU show in the 50s and like knew the first people that put it on because they were coming back to visit the campus when they were underclassmen working on the WAMU show. And it's really like a lovely environment for us all to be involved in. It's over 200 people every single year for this show that only lasts 2 weeks. And I am one of 7 people who has ever produced it twice. So that's also a fun group that I am in with a Tony winner. So that's pretty cool. For anyone that doesn't know theater, the Tonys are the theater versions of the Oscars. So we think they are very cool. And that is definitely taken up like many of my hours, but it's also really fun. I've met a lot of new students getting people involved in the WAMU show right now that all wrote about it in their Why Northwestern essays. And so it's really cool to like see them be able to experience it firsthand and just help first years like get integrated into the theater major because it is a pretty big program for theater. And so being part of helping the first year experience seem less stressful and less big is really important to me. And I've really enjoyed it. Back to you then, Alyssa.
Thank you. So you brought up something that I am excited to throw a question at you all about. So that Why Northwestern essay, right? Now take yourself back 4 years when you were sitting at your desk writing that Why Northwestern essay. What was that process of writing the essay like for you? And what things did you come to evaluate that were important to you in writing that Why Northwestern essay, right? Like what were those big draws to Northwestern that you wrote about in that essay?
I'll start. I was not sure if me or Adam was going to, but I'll take it off. So funnily enough, even though I now run the WAMU show, I was not someone who wrote about the WAMU show in my Why Northwestern essay. I wrote about 3 other theater organizations that I did not get into when I was here. But that's fine because you find other things and I love going and seeing all their shows that they produce. But I think that was a big part of how much I felt students had an advocacy and like control over their educational experience and outside of the classroom was really important to me. Even in, I mentioned some classes that were 200 levels, but discussion based and where you were really creating your own final project instead of working on these like papers where you were expected to say the yes or no answer, which I also thought was really interesting and a really exciting way of learning. And then it was definitely the please, there's nowhere else that lets me do what I want to do with theater and psychology. Please let me double major. And that is only here, which I do think is a good like sense of motivation for why only Northwestern. But I think the like student push of how strong I felt like the student body was on campus, not just in terms of the presence, like, okay, we have 500 student organizations, but also how powerful they were allowed to be on campus. Like the student organizations I'm part of frequently are in meetings with people in the Works Center, which is our professional producing space on campus, or in the School of Communication, like our dean or different professors that are working on proposals we have or making sure that we're supported. And I had a feeling of how strong that was going to be when I was writing my Northwestern essay. And I was really excited for that to be something I explored when I was here.
Yeah, so going back, as I said a little bit before, I was applying to Northwestern, planning on majoring in chemistry. So one small part of my Why Northwestern was just one of the chemistry faculty that works here. He invented the drug Lyrica. I thought it'd be pretty cool to like learn medicinal chemistry from him. I'm clearly not learning from him right now. So a good thing I talked about something else in my Why Northwestern essay because I had the space for it. But the other part of mine was really just looking at kind of the academic experience that I would have at a college. And whenever I was learning more about Northwestern and going on my tour, I heard that it was a much more collaborative environment than competitive one. And I was coming from a high school that was a lot more competitive focused. So I wanted to get as far away from the competitive stuff as possible. But I still wanted to go to a school that was like academically rigorous and prestigious. So I really do think that was one of the main reasons why I was drawn to Northwestern as well, just because it is a fantastic school. But I've never felt like I'm competing with my classmates. I don't think I've ever heard any other classmate ask me what my GPA is or what score I got on a test. That's just like a foreign language to students here, it feels like. So it really does feel like your own academic journey. Students are working together, like proofreading each other's essays, studying for exams together. So it's just a much better space than my high school experience was. And that was one of the things I was really looking for whenever I was writing my Why Northwestern, but also looking through the college admissions process in general. So yeah, Vivica?
Oh, yeah. I would say my process was figuring out how to phrase that I just wanted to explore a lot. I didn't really know at the time as a high schooler, I didn't have really a clue what I wanted to do, but I expressed how I knew Northwestern through the quarter system, through the foundational disciplines, through the professors. I knew it would be a good place to figure it out. So I talked a lot about that, honestly, and just like here are some of my interests, but I'm excited for like what Northwestern has to show me and what I will learn. And I definitely would say now on the other side of that, I think that totally makes sense. And I think I was in a similar position as a lot of first year students, just coming in undecided and like very excited to figure it out. So that was kind of where I was at with my Why Northwestern.
Yeah, my Why Northwestern was like, oh, it was okay. Like, I'm not like the best writer, so like, I don't know. I feel like the other parts of my application probably carried me. One thing that I definitely talked about was, as I've said, the practical like take on education that Northwestern has, and I think that really rings true. On the engineering side, I talked a lot about things like our engineering first curriculum with engineering analysis and design thinking and communication. And whole brain engineering and kind of all those things. One kind of interesting thing that I did have on my Why Northwestern, like maybe a week before I submitted it, I visited my older brother who graduated from Northwestern, and he worked in a chemistry lab. And we decided to go knock on Sir Fraser Stoddard's door, who's a Nobel laureate. We literally just like went to his office, knocked on the door. He was hosting somebody, I don't know who it was, but they were very important. And he kind of like shuffled the guy into like another conference room and he talked to us for like 15 minutes. And he posted us on his Twitter. So if you want to go look up my last name and then Sir Fraser Stoddard, like you might find it. And so I thought that was like pretty cool and kind of showed that Northwestern professors up to like literally head honcho Nobel laureate are willing to like talk to students and even students who like didn't even go there. So that was a pretty cool story. And I think also kind of is a great example of kind of what goes on at Northwestern. I think all of the faculty in general, like from lowest level professor to major tenure Nobel laureate are willing to help. So yeah.
Awesome. That is a very cool story. Cool. Good to know. Love it. So you guys talked a lot about your Why Northwestern then, but I'm curious to know why Northwestern now? What is it that keeps you here at Northwestern, that keeps you loving the place that you attend your university? And we can go backwards on this one. So let's start with Adam.
It was what keeps us here.
Like, what is your Why Northwestern now?
Why Northwestern now? Yeah, I would say these days it's definitely just like the friends I've made and the people. Like class is class, and like once you get your degree, it kind of like it definitely relies more on like the relationships you've been able to form, the people you meet. And I definitely feel like I've met my best friends in the world at Northwestern through clubs and extracurriculars, sports, class, things like that. And they're people that I'm going to keep in touch with for the rest of my life. So I really feel like that's kind of not necessarily why I stay, but like what I've really gotten out of Northwestern is kind of the people and the relationships I've built.
I would say a big reason I stay is just because like all the opportunities Northwestern has been able to like unlock for me. It was a big change leaving my community, but I think being at Northwestern and doing the things I've been able to do, it's definitely been worth it. Like I said, I just got back from the research grant where I got to literally travel the world for the summer. And that's something I definitely would not have been able to do on my own. And I'm just like super grateful for all the different opportunities they've opened for me, whether it's through research or literally just like being able to go to Chicago and experience different fun activities that I had never been through before. I think that's what really keeps me at Northwestern. It's just like they keep unlocking really cool doors for me, so I cannot complain.
Yeah, I think the reason why I decided to stay here is pretty similar to the reason why I decided to apply, just because of like the student body that I was looking for in terms of like that competitive and collaborative culture. As I was mentioning a little bit earlier before, you could say I got weeded out of organic chemistry. It happened. I own up to it. But what I was expecting was something similar to my high school experience whenever people got bad grades. And it was whenever people made fun of them and thought they were like less smart than everyone else. So that was what I was kind of expecting out of it. But whenever I left that class, I still stayed really good friends with three of the people that I met there. And then even whenever we weren't in class together anymore, like we grew into best friends over time. And we still like supported each other academically, even though they were all still in chemistry. Two of them just graduated from the chem department this past year. I'm clearly not in chemistry anymore, but we still hang out all the time. They're still supporting me in all of the other random research and club opportunities that I have on the humanities side of things. I'm supporting them as they're going off and like getting their PhDs in chemistry. So it really does feel nice to have a student body that cares about you beyond just like whether or not you got a good grade on a test or not. And that's really the main reason why I've decided to stay, just because I wasn't expecting that level of compassion out of my classmates, but that's what I got. And I'm really thankful that I stayed, and like that's the experience that I've had. Madeline?
Oh, I feel like I'm just echoing everyone else now. I think Northwestern students also tend to just think the same, while all of our experiences are different. I think our like overarching takeaways are often similar. One thing that I really appreciate at Northwestern is the support systems for all 4 years, and also the acknowledgement that like what your support needs as a first year rather than a fourth year is very different. And I think that the school does a really good job of accommodating what that looks like across your time, both as an administrative body and also as a student body. I love bringing first years in to executive teams or in like director positions in student organizations. And I've seen that happen a lot of times across campus, but I've also seen a lot of times where first years are just accepted as general members who can come and go as they please, because we want you to be involved in this thing you're passionate about, but only to the level that you are okay as a person, because you are a person first and a student maybe like fifth. I also have really been appreciating the like graduation prep help as a senior, because that's now all definitely really kicking in. My graduation little system we have has been glitching on me constantly, to the degree that I've probably emailed my advisor like 25 times, because I have a little spurt of panic anytime I get an email from the office of the registrar, and she takes all of them with glee, and is like, either, oh, that's weird, let me figure that out for you, you're not in charge of figuring this out because you've done everything you need to do, or Madeline, ignore that email, stop being so stressed that this glitch happened in June. And, you know, there's a program that I'm in that I like to call a baby minor. It's called a module. And it's only 4 classes, all of which I've completed my sophomore, the beginning of my junior year. And so now finishing it up is writing a statement about yourself as an artist you can use to kind of prep for job interviews, as well as writing your whole CV. So they build that into the things you need to do that you can't neglect because you're stressed about everything else. These are things that are going to help you in the real world. And we're going to make sure that we are giving you the space to do that, rather than putting so much else on your plate that you're not going to be able to make them the best that they can be in the time that you need them. So that's my little spiel on why I'm staying at Northwestern currently as a senior, and also things that I appreciated as a first and second year.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for sharing a little bit more about that. Now, this next question is one I keep seeing over and over in the chat, and I think it's kind of a fun one. But what is your favorite Northwestern tradition and why? We can start with Madeline.
I mean, it is the WAMU show, so I will try to think of something else, guys. I run it and I have to get a lot of money, so I really can't ever like trash talk the WAMU show. But another one of my favorite traditions would be, I'm going to keep talking about theater, but I love this one. There is an event that is called the Rock Show. That is basically just a collective theater major, let's have fun. Auditions are really stressful as a theater major, especially as non-majors, because our auditions are open for everyone. And so every year we host a like 30-minute karaoke sing-along cabaret to a musical that a lot of us like, and anyone who wants to perform is able to, and we do it at the Rock at like 11 p.m. one freezing winter night. And we also always make the titles a little bit different to like reflect the show. So last year it was Shrek the Musical, and so the Rock Show was titled Shrock, obviously. And it's a lot of the first year's times to like really be involved in seniors that are more performance only oriented rather than doing things in arts administration where you would see them more often, because if you're not in show with them, you won't have met them yet. And it's also just a great time for us to like laugh and be merry and not in the audition or rehearsal mindset, and kind of take a break from all of that, which I really appreciate. And it is just so fun. I'm really campaigning for us to do Les Miserables because it's my favorite musical, and call it Les Miserables. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to be downvoted to do we're planning on doing the Harry Potter musical by Star Kid. Is I think the winning vote. So that will be happening in about a month and a half. Nick, what about you?
My favorite tradition is less of a tradition, more just like my favorite event that's kind of happened during my time here. So we have a club called A&O Productions, which puts on just like various events throughout the year. They'll bring in concerts, like performers, speakers, comedians, everything like that. I remember last year, in the fall quarter, they brought in 2 drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race, Shea Coulee and Alyssa Edwards, and they just did a drag show for students. And it was really nice having a drag show come to campus, especially since most of drag shows are happening at bars and we are not 21. So Northwestern is like allowing queer students to have the space to kind of express themselves in that way, which I really appreciated, at least coming from my personal experience. And then also just other events that A&O has had throughout my time, like Willow Smith was here last year, Jaden Smith was here my freshman year, Flo Millie was also here last year. So they just bring a lot of really, really awesome people. And all of those events are free. So you never have to pay for any of them. So you get to tell your friends back home that you got to see like these like fantastic international performers come to your campus. So those are probably like my favorite collective traditions.
I would go off of Nick's by saying Armadillo Day, or Dillo Day for short, is probably my favorite tradition. Even though I've only had like one real one so far. But it's the largest student run music festival in the country, put on by our group called Mayfest. We have like a Ferris wheel and food trucks and tons of different performers. And students get to vote for like who they want to see. So it is also like people that you would be interested in. And there's like a lot of different like music types represented. This past year, I saw Sean Kingston and Dominic Fike, Tinashe, and Remy Wolf. I was like, I'm forgetting one. And in past years, we've had Charlie XCX, Hippocampus, Chance the Rapper. So yeah, we've had a lot of different artists, and I just think it's a really fun day. There's also like a theme. Like this past year, it was Western. And so my friend and I like kind of look like cows, and it was really fun and a good time. So yeah.
So Vivica took my answer and Nick took my backup answer. So we're really digging deep into the answer pool here. Not really a tradition, but I would say one of my favorite, again, like events and things is Wildcat Welcome again. I wasn't able to do it this year, but I think it's a really great kind of like program / tradition that Northwestern puts on. And a few like traditions happen. The first is March Through the Arch, where you and your incoming class will all march through our Weber Arch, which is kind of a big symbol on campus, kind of signaling you're entering to the university. Another really fun thing, which I heard through the grapevine that they did not do this year, hopefully they bring it back, is Northwestern rents out Six Flags, and everyone goes for the night. And that, frankly, I met like so many friends during that, and it's always a super fun time. And the bus situation is always a mess, but you get through it, and it's a good time. So yeah, Wildcat Welcome in general, and then March to the Arch and renting out Six Flags, I think are 2 good ones.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing a little bit more about some campus traditions and things that these prospective students can one day look forward to. I kind of want to bring it back to the prospective students, right? And I want to ask all of you, what is one piece of advice that you can give to these seniors as they wrap up with their early decision applications? I'll start again with Madeline.
Yay. I give this piece of advice a lot, which is that there are only so many things in your control right now as an applicant. And so stressing about your test scores, stressing about your high school transcript or existing GPA does nothing other than make your life currently a little bit more stressful. Put your energy into writing a great Common App statement and Why Northwestern essay, my like one sentence blurb for the Common App statement is make sure that we really hear your voice. We want to know you as a person rather than what you think we want you to be. One of the tour guides in our office talked about ice cream toppings and statistics and how she wanted to study statistics because and kind of in conflict of her like chronic indecision. And then in terms of the Why Northwestern essay, make sure that you cannot replace Northwestern with another school and have the essay make sense. That might be because you're citing really specific courses or professors or extracurriculars here, but it could just be that there are specific, more overarching things about the university that you adore that you don't really think exist anywhere else in that combination. And it might, for someone who doesn't know anything about US colleges, they might read it and say, okay, well, this would make sense. But to you, it wouldn't, because your passion for those reasons, why they might be more general, is so strong. So those will be my kind of two phrases of advice. Nick?
My piece of advice is more just for people who are applying regular as well, but I guess also for early decision, but just make sure they kind of in the same line as what Madeline was just saying, you don't get too stressed out about the college admissions process. I know it's really hard to say whenever like you're in the middle of it, but really make sure to spend the time like with your family, with your friends from high school, enjoying like all of your extracurricular activities that you're still involved in. Like don't sacrifice any of that stuff just for an application. Like making sure that you like your mental health is like still coming first is really important. That was one thing that I kind of let go whenever I was worrying about whether or not I was getting into Northwestern and stuff. So just really keep doing the things that you actually enjoy doing about life and don't spend every waking moment thinking about whether or not I got into X college. You're going to feel so much better about it. Like whenever May comes around, like you'll be really happy that you went out and like hung out with friends in the middle of November instead of spending 15 more minutes working on your essay. Like the essay is going to be fine. Go hang out with friends, like do fun stuff. So just remember to be a person outside of this whole crazy whirlwind of a college admissions process.
I would have to definitely echo those two, but I think my biggest piece of advice is really like staying true to yourself throughout this process and creating a essay or your Why Northwestern and your essay that are just so reflective of who you are. I think that was something I was like a little bit scared to do. Like I was like, what if they don't accept me by being myself? You know, what if I'm not what they want? And I think ultimately that was what helped me get in. What made my essay strong was it was me. It was Vivica on a piece of paper. And I remember I wrote mine like mine was about Leave It to Beaver, like the 50s theme show where everything is like very perfect. It's a very perfect world. And I just talked about like that wasn't my life. And I used to always watch it as a kid because I wanted that to be my life. And then I realized that doesn't have to be my life. And so that's basically what I wrote mine about. But it was just 100% a personal story that took a lot of reflection out of me before I wrote it. But it should just be something so unique. And then now I remember in admissions, like a couple months ago, one of the counselors was like, Vivica, I remember reading your essay. And I was like, oh my gosh, like after all these years, and like that's the kind of effect you really want to have with your essays, just staying true to yourself and writing something that's so you know, like I said, mine was me on paper and the same should be said for yours.
Yeah, for me, I won't focus on the essay because like I said, mine was, I would not probably take my advice on any essay writing at all. But in terms of just like general college advice, I would say definitely focus on like if you see yourself at that school. Like I think a lot of schools talk about like the fit factor. And I think it's really, really important and definitely extends more than academics. I know a lot of people that applied to colleges by looking at the US News rankings and just applying to the top 20 schools. And that is just like the worst way to do it. And you will like get to whatever school it is and maybe you'll enjoy it for like a month or two and then you will not appreciate how you went through that. So really, really focus on, do you see yourself at that school? Do you like the people? Do you like the location? Even do you like the weather? Like what opportunities do you have? I think is really, really important and more important than academics. There are a lot of great schools in the US. You don't need to go to one of the like ultra competitive ones to be happy. And there's just a lot out there. So I would encourage you to kind of look beyond rankings, look beyond academics and really see where you think you would be happy at a school. And it will all work out. Don't worry too much.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you all for sharing these wonderful, insightful tips and tricks. We hope that what we've shared tonight can help illuminate some of the ways that you at home watching this might be a fit for Northwestern. Really want to thank our panelists tonight for sharing all of their insights. And want to thank you all for taking the time to be here today to learn a little bit more about Northwestern and what it would be like and what the benefit is to applying early decision. We really do appreciate you spending your evening with us. And so with that being said, that concludes our webinar. If for whatever reason we didn't get to your question, I'm sure there are plenty of you out there, as we had over 200 questions in that Q&A chat. Feel free to check out the regional contacts or the regional contact portion of our website, find your regional contact and send them that email with that question. It's really important to us that you feel you get your questions answered. And so if anything was left unsaid or untouched from tonight's panel, please feel free to reach out and dig a little deeper to make sure you're getting the answers you need before making that early decision commitment. But thank you all again for coming tonight. We appreciate it, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening.